Tim, it's great to be here with you today. It's an honor to be here with you. We're doing something that we would have liked to have done somewhere else, right? Why don't you talk about why we're here a little bit today on this porch?
So we are here. Yeah, we thank you, Kevin. Thank you for agreeing to do this. It's good to have a friend doing this and a lover of poetry. We're here doing this because we can't gather at the gallery for the launch of the book due to pandemic restrictions. So we're trying to do something digitally to invite people in, to the kind of conversation I would be having with them in a group. So, yeah, this is really just a conversation like I would be having among hopefully 50, 70 people there at the gallery. Hopefully can join, but I'm having it with you, and I'm so grateful.
That's great. Yeah, well, we'll imagine as we go that 50 or 75 of your closest friends,
maybe 100,
and family and fans are all here with us yet.
Okay, 150. No.
Why not 200?
But we'd have to move it from the gallery.
So it's okay.
Yeah. That's what poetry is all about, imagination.
Well, you didn't know this until we kind of heard where we were going to do this interview, but this place has some deep significance for you. Can you tell me about that?
It's, again, part of the magic of this whole process for me. We're here at the Elliott Place in Flat Rock, where I literally, physically started my life. This porch, this scene, the lake behind me. My father was a caretaker on this estate when I was born. And my mom and my father, we all lived in the guest house here. And so my earliest memories are of this place, of this ground, of this house. I learned to walk and talk here. I guess there's something in the water. Because here I'm talking and, and again, learning with my words. I think what I was thinking about earlier about this place, and I want to say thank you to Marty Whaley Cornwall for preserving this beautiful place and then hosting us here today. My first memories, I realized, and what a luxury it is, that my first memories are of nature and beauty. And I know not everyone has that privilege, and I think it imprints on you. That's what's all about in the book. So, yeah, it's very significant. I'm still kind of pinching myself that I'm here doing this in this place.
That's great. Well, we're celebrating with you with the release of Blue Mountain Poems, and you've done a video, or doing a video of some readings. So tonight we'll do a reading or so, but we'll really kind of focus on some of the stories behind your poems, and also talk about maybe some of the themes, and as well as you as the poet, and kind of your experience writing these poems. But I thought we might begin to kind of set the pace for our conversation with a reading. So would you read Womb?
I will.
And I'll just say there's something about reading a poem and reading out loud, but when you hear the poet himself or herself read the poem, you feel it differently, and it's a pleasure for me to hear you read it, because your voice will be in my head as I continue to read these poems in years to come.
Womb. Why are you in the forest? Because I walk home from school to avoid the bus, which delivers kids into the arms of waiting moms, but the driver never can locate that spot for me. Why are you lying down beneath the leaves? Because I want a blanket to warm me from confusion. Because I don't yet know how to look into a mirror and see the face of someone who is wanted. Why are you buried here all afternoon? Because the earth tastes like salt. The preacher said it's the only job description offered by Jesus. Why are you leaving the safety of these woods? Because my dad loves me and he might get worried. His love is all that I've got. Nothing can stop him when his love gets worried. Why are you looking up at the sky? Because it's the first time I've ever truly heard my name whispered from the mouth of God. It sounds like falling leaves, blanketing leaves into wholeness. Will you ever travel this way again? Yes, every night between sunset and sunrise, even when I'm grown and these woods no longer exist. I'll touch this place every time I thirst for a poem or write a fistful of words about real things that rise and change. What did you learn here? God loves common things beyond measure. Grace can make a spectacle of us all, but it's still worth the risk, because heaven sides with creators rather than dismantlers. In order to be born from above, we must first go beneath and listen. So I wrote that poem because I hated, when I go back to, there's this image of I grew up across the way over there in those woods that no longer exist. There's a housing development there. But I wrote that poem because I hated riding the bus. Hated it. Not because I got picked on. You see, what I hated riding the school bus was that it would come to these stops, and somehow there was a mom there waiting either at the stop or at the door for their kids, and I was embarrassed that there was no one there for me because my dad was sick. He couldn't meet me out at the bus stop. He was at home and not able to be there, and so I always felt like, I would rather do anything than get dropped off and have nobody there. So when I could start walking home from school, I did. And over at Flat Rock Junior High, and and it wouldn't matter if it's snow and rain. I would walk home from school every day after school. It didn't matter the weather, and I would cut through the woods. There's a place near Hills General Store where there's an old abandoned house, and if you cut through the woods just in this right little spot, you would come out into what was the woods where I grew up around. And then what would happen was then I would stop on this hill overlooking my house, and there was just layer after layer after layer of winter leaves, and I would bury myself in it. I would just sort of get under the leaves, and I could just stay there, and I could still taste this sort of aroma that you'd have in your nose and in your mouth, and I would stay there for long periods of time, and then I would get up, and it was like that was my experience of really knowing who I was. I had to do homework, had to get home. My dad would, but I kind of see that experience as a womb experience of something where I was born. Something was born in me there, and so that's really sort of what the poem is about, and then about what it's like to have someone that cares for you and gives you the space to do weird things like get buried in leaves. And I do visit them every night. When I find myself that I dream about those woods a lot, even though they no longer exist. There's houses and pavement there, but I can still visit them. I still visit them, not even meaning to, in my dreams. So
that's beautiful. Probably 6 or 7 years ago, I went to a poetry reading with an Orthodox poet named Scott Cairns, and someone asked him in the audience. They asked him about the meaning of a poem. And he said something, and I'll try to describe what he said. But he said, poems aren't meant to be understood; they're meant to be experienced.
Yeah.
And it made me think. I was thinking about that quote as I was reading some of these really intimate poems that you've written, and how it's a gift that comes from vulnerability for you to be able to pour yourself into words that come from your own experiences and your relationships and your grief and your joy, all those things, and to, in many ways, put them in a form that you can then give to other people to experience. One thing that I've noticed, a common theme in some of your poems, and that comes up in Womb and some of your other ones, but it's this concept of hearing one's true name spoken, and in contrast to maybe hearing one's false name for most of one's life. Can you talk about that as a theme or image, and what that means to you in that process?
Yeah, I think that right there probably is the core of everything. It's the core of, for me, it's the core of reconciliation in the gospel, of getting to that place. And I try not to be poetic here, but it really is sort of the heart of salvation. Getting to that place where you can actually hear and understand who God made you to be. I think in one of my poems, Alive, I talk about this, how there's a gentleman who comes and he's just newly sober, into the rescue mission. He's telling me he can finally feel his aches and pains, and he says, now I know now I can feel. That's how I know I'm alive. I can feel my pain, and we spend so much of our lives trying to be numb. There are many different things, trying to be numb, that we can't hear who we really are. And I was put in that poem that he finally hears and understands who he is, and it sounds nothing like what everyone else has been calling him all, you old drunk, or you old this, or that. That his true name is only what who he is in awareness in the presence of God. And I think that that does probably come up a lot in my poems, because that's central to my work and to my ministry. And if everybody can hear their true name spoken by God, then what's left to do. Yeah.
Going back to that poem, Alive, I think it's in there towards the end of the poem. You have a stanza where you say something along the lines of, "You learn to love the light in a dark room." Is that a reference to your photography?
No, because that would be no, because I really
trying to understand the poem and not experience it. But
no, it's interesting. I never thought about that, because my photography that I do is all digital, and so I never had the experience. Even when I was in college, I wasn't. I never really had darkroom experiences. I was in awe of people who could go in dark rooms, but I never had that experience. So no, boy, this is intensely personal. I spend a lot of my time, so it's sort of metaphorical. I spent a lot of my time growing up that was unhappy and uncertain. I would go in my room, shut the door, lock the door, turn off the light, and just sit in the dark. Because I think I didn't want a lot of visual stimulation, and I just wanted to be away and at peace. And I know that probably sounds like something a poet would do, right? But it was almost like going into what Jesus talked about, going into your closet to pray. It was my way of trying to wrestle with my demons, and so it was actually physically a dark room, but it was the only place I could hide. And so that's it. But I see that in the lives of the people I serve, especially in my work at the homeless shelter. This sense of just trying to get away, and turn out the lights, go numb, as he. So yeah.
I kind of read your womb metaphor there too a little bit, just in that
one under in the
being
dark
in that space. Yeah, that's great.